Welcome to the tutorial for Experiment Center and BGAIS questionnaires. In this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to create a questionnaire in the SMI Experiment Center. We'll take a look at adding, deleting, and customizing the options of your quiz, and then we'll analyze the results of the tests using BGAIS and export them to a text file. First, I'm going to show you how to create a questionnaire in the SMI Experiment Center. Start the application, then go to the Insert menu and choose Questionnaire from the list or use the shortcut Control-Q. There's also a button you can choose in the toolbar right here. You'll get a dialog box where you can type in a question for your test. I'll type something in the question text box. If you want to offer the viewer some predefined answers to the question you're asking, then click on the Add Answer button on the bottom left of the dialog box. Right now, this question can only have one correct answer. If you want to let the users click on multiple answers, click on the Allow Multiple Answers checkbox. If you want to allow the viewer to type in some options that are not on your predefined list, click on the Add Free Text button. Now click Save to stop editing this question. Let's add some additional questions. This time, I'm going to click on the question icon. And I'll type a second question. Let's add another question. This time, I'll use the shortcut, which is Control-Q. Shortcuts are the quickest way to add questions, so they can save you a lot of time. Once you've entered some questions, you can preview them on the right-hand side of the screen by clicking on them. Double-click on the preview to see it full screen. If you have a lot of questions, it's a good idea to give them a label so that you can quickly identify them in the list. Click on the space under the Source Name column and type in some names. Labeling the questions will make them easier to recognize in the Statistics module once you go to the BGAIS application. Just like with answers, you can reorganize questions by clicking and dragging them in the list view. If you want to organize your answers in a certain way, you can create what's called a participant property. So for example, I want to filter my answers by age. I can double-click on that question. I'm going to hit the Add button and type in demographics. Then I'll click OK and save this question. I'm going to go ahead and add some more questions. You can change the order in which questions are asked by adding them to a randomization group. That means that the questions will be asked in no particular order. To do this, you can click on the Randomization Group column and type in a name. You can then choose to randomize the rest of the questions by using the pop-up menu and choosing the name you just typed in from the list. You also have the option to make sure that certain questions are asked as groups, even though you've chosen to randomize the order. So for example, we've created a question that asks for the viewer's most productive day of the week. We would like the next question, the most productive time of day, to be asked next, even though I've asked for the questions to be randomized. We can do that by choosing with Previous from the Random Group drop-down list. By default, eye tracking information won't be recorded. You don't need to record eye tracking data in order to capture results. But if you want to make sure that the eye tracking information is recorded, click on the Record Data checkbox. Either way, all answers will be recorded. There's some additional properties available on the Properties panel on the bottom right-hand side of the screen. So for example, you can choose a different background color or choose to play a sound with the question. Now it's time to save your questionnaire. You can go to the File menu and choose Save, or click on the Save icon in the toolbar. Now you're ready to capture some data. Click on this button to log the experiment to make the Record option available. Now click on the Record button to start recording your test. You can give your tests a participant code. The default option is OK though. The tests always start with the calibration sequence. To get the process going, hit the spacebar. Now the user can fill out some data. You can then record as many tests as you want. After you've captured some data in Experiment Center, you're ready to look at your results in BGAIS. To transfer your data to BGAIS, click on the BGAIS icon in the Experiment Center. Your experiment should automatically show up in BGAIS. On the dashboard, you'll see a preview of the test at the top of the screen, as well as a list of the participants underneath. And you can see that visual stimuli will only be available for questions where record data was checked. However, all answers are still available in the event statistics. To take a look at the results of the questions, click on the Event Statistics icon from the top toolbar. On the right-hand side of the screen, you'll see a table with the results of the participant data. On the first column, you'll see a list of all the subjects you defined in the experiment center. In the source column, you'll see a list of the labels you may have applied in Experiment Center. Next, you'll see a list of your question titles. Although you can resize the question column, labeling questions and looking at the source column makes it easier to recognize your questions when the text is similar. Finally, you'll see a list of the answers in the last column. To narrow down the results, you can click on the Filter checkbox at the top of the results and choose the combination of responses you're interested in. You can even filter by participant properties you defined in Experiment Center. Once you're ready to export the results, click on the Export button on top of the results, and then click on Export. Creating a quiz is pretty easy. The Experiment Center gives you a lot of options for doing this quickly. After you master a few features like randomizing, organizing, and grouping your results, you'll be able to create meaningful tests that will help you capture better results from your sessions.